Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at what's been happening in the news.
And then we've got Timmy's cinema review, where he's going to tell us just how did Harold and Kumar escape Guantanamo Bay.
As well, we're going to be looking at what gets me going.
Well, what gets me going?
And what gets her going is the death of cannabis retail.
That's true. And of course, part 2 of our special interview with Canadian rap artist Choclair.
This podcast is for adults only, should not be used as a meal replacement, and may contain nuts.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Noobie and the Doobie. My name is Timmy, I am the Noobie.
Mary Jane, and I am the Doobie.
Today on the show we are celebrating World Freedom Day.
That's a good day to celebrate.
Right? Who doesn't want freedom? Although they do say that, do people really want freedom? No, wait, that's not the word. It was privacy. Is this World Privacy Day?
No, it's World Freedom Day.
Okay, no, I was going down a whole different...
But what is freedom? Like freedom to just make your own choices, to travel, to...
No, free, you're
like,
free.
To do whatever you want.
You are free to make a decision. Right or
within
wrong?
Well, I guess you're not free to murder.
No, you are free. Okay.
But you have to take the consequences.
You are free to murder, but you need to accept the consequences of that decision. So
don't do that. Don't murder.
A free world basically allows us, it's like if you're being a parent and you're giving your kids freedom, that gives them the freedom to make wrong choices and to fail, and to experience the consequences of those failures. And as we grow up, parents no longer in there. But I think freedom is simply that. Freedom is the ability.
So like you're saying, I'm free to walk on that parking curb if I want to.
Yes.
And if I fall off and hurt myself, I have to deal with the consequence of
but
the
you're free to
swollen
do
ankle.
that. You're free to do that.
I just might.
And people can put up fences and signs to say, listen, we want you to know you shouldn't put that chainsaw in your mouth.
You don't put Tide Pods in your mouth.
Right. But we cannot ultimately stop
That's why you are free to do so.
Like, think about it.
That's not why they call it World Freedom Day. There's a specific reason why today
was
today
was a monumental day. Today,
in history. Today in history.
In history.
What year did this happen?
Well, it depends on if we're talking about the same thing.
Well, doesn't it have to do with the Berlin Wall?
It does.
Okay.
We are talking about the same thing. Once again, here on the Noobie and Doobie, we are in sync. Well, not in sync.
No. I would be Justin.
Backstreet Boys.
I would be Justin. And in that case, I would be Nick.
one time I wanted to create a synchronized swimming team that also sang, and I would call it In Sync, but SINK.
You know what? Even better, you should just synchronize swim 2 NSYNC songs.
Right? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Done.
Coming up on a future episode of the Noobie and the Doobie.
Noobie and the Doobie.
I thought it was something else entirely. I didn't know it was Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about the Berlin Wall.
The World Freedom Day. Okay, so the Berlin Wall was, well, I was going to say it's a famous wall, but you know. Okay, so...
Well, I've heard of it. I just don't know what happened.
Well, let me walk you through some stuff. Okay. So, to be fair, I had to look up some stuff. But 1961. Okay.
Maybe that's why I don't remember.
All right.
It didn't happen yesterday.
I wasn't around either.
That's what I mean. It didn't happen yesterday.
It didn't happen yesterday. 1961. It was the communist side of Germany. Okay. On the east. They created this barbed wire concrete structure. Okay. Basically because who knows? I don't want to get into all the political thing, but they were trying to stop a whole bunch of people from fleeing the east to go to the west.
Okay. It was like a east side, west side, like east side. Oh, no, it's west side.
Very much Biggie Tupac.
West side. Sorry.
Is it Tupac? Tupac. I always get that mixed up. But that's what it is. It's kind of like, it wasn't Biggie Tupac. They were on the same side, but then it was Snoop was on the east, right? Who was
Did you just say Biggie and Tupac were on the same side?
Weren't they on the same side?
I thought Biggie shot Tupac and Tupac shot Biggie.
No. I think they were on the same side.
How did that work?
And then there was it was like the
See, that's still before my time.
This is called.
I wasn't.
This is called getting out of your lane. I have no idea about what happened in the hip hop
I know.
culture.
I was playing 90s hip hop for you the other day, and I was like, you know this one, I was playing "Hits from the Bong" by Cypress Hill, and you were like, I know that sound. I've heard it before. I'm like, yes. And he named it. I was so proud of you.
But then we put a little on the Bengals, and
like the
walk
Tigers?
like an Egyptian. No.
Oh.
All right. Let's stay in our lane. So in 1961, Germany became East and West.
Okay.
And the Berlin Wall was splitting that up.
Okay.
But on November 9th, 1989, okay, so I was 16.
Okay.
So I was fully functioning as being able to really understand what was going on. And this was all over the TV. And back then, you didn't have the ability to go online and watch it after the fact. So people were like literally climbing the wall. People were taking hammers because the announcement had been made that you were now allowed to cross the border freely. But of course, there's a wall there. So it's kind of like that hindrance. But you can do it if you want. And sure enough, the people went out there.
That's enough.
And we were watching it on TV as people were not only climbing the walls, but taking hammers. And it was this.
Oh my God, I would have cried.
It was an amazing celebration.
I want to cry now. It's just the feeling of those people. Oh my God. Can you tell it's that time of the month? I'm like so emotional. But like the feeling of tearing down that wall.
Yeah, no,
to get to freedom.
Once it not only was a very physical like moment in history, but it was symbolic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And sitting back in Canada as a 16-year-old boy who had no idea, I was in a pretty chill household. I didn't have a whole lot of rules. The concept of not being able to freely go and come as you please, those type of things, like to have. The only wall that ever stood in my way, you are tearing up.
I'm trying hard not to, and it's literally just pouring out the side.
The only wall that ever stood in my way was internal walls that I had built myself to stop me from being free. But the concept of this, it was fascinating. But I watched it as it was happening, and that was the beauty of pre-internet, was you saw this stuff happening and it was in the moment. It wasn't like, hey, watch that clip later. You couldn't put it aside. You had to put everything else you were doing in life and choose to engage in something. Yeah. And I was 16 watching this thing happen, and it was I still today can remember the images, but that was what happened, and that's what this day became standing for, is breaking down those walls and celebrating freedom.
I cannot believe I'm crying right now.
I believe you're crying. I believe you're crying because I know you.
Spend time with me.
Because I know you.
Yeah. I watch. I can tell you if the show has good writers, if it's a drama series, because I am the one sitting on the thing crying like, oh my God, such good writing.
And this wasn't even writing.
No, but this is. It's kind of like what's happening now with this the virus that the whole world is facing. We're all dealing with the same thing, so we can kind of feel what other people are going through. And I could imagine the entire world, you know what I mean? Like when Princess Diana died, we all sat around the TV and we watched and we mourned together. I could see that same thing. Even though, like you say, we're in Canada and we have freedom to go and come as we please, I can only imagine the way people must have been feeling. So that's why
it was pretty amazing, and to know that was simply like to have something like that. With those are stories that you kind of go, oh, that was back in like the 1800, 1900, but it's like no, this like literally in my generation stuff like this was going on, and how far the world has come.
Just so you know, that was the 1900s.
It was, yeah. It
oh my God. Okay, so funny. I seen a TikTok the other day. I just want to say this because 1900s. Buddy goes in to show his ID. She says, "Ma'am, can I see your ID?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he says, "Do you need me to pull it out?" She says, "No, I can see the one from here." And he's like, "The one?" She's like, "Yeah, at the beginning of your birth year." And he stopped and he was like, "Oh my God!"
You're too old.
You're of age if you're 19 something.
Yeah, all I need to know is there a 1 at the beginning or a 2?
If there was a 2, I need to see that.
That's funny.
Was that it on the Berlin Wall?
Yeah.
So it's funny that you said the only wall that you had to deal with was the wall that you built for yourself.
Yeah.
Because when we heard it was, when I heard it was the World Freedom Day, had to do with the wall coming down. I was like, oh, like the song by Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, I went to Google and I'm like,
I think Pink Floyd was on Tupac's side. I'm pretty sure. But
I
anyways.
think he was on Elvis's side.
Oh, that's probably more likely.
Which is not dead.
I don't even think Pink Floyd was an
Elvis is
actual
not dead.
person, but
Well,
was it? No, I don't think
it
there
was
was a guy
band.
named Pink Floyd.
no, it was a band
Okay,
called
all right.
Pink Floyd.
Right. He was best friends with Led Zeppelin, Mr. Led Zeppelin.
Is that a name too? His
I
name
think
was
so.
Led?
I think his name was Led. It was Led and
Was
Pink
it
hanging out.
Leonard Zeppelin? And he did
He's
usually,
like,
I'll
I'm
just
not
cut
going
the
with
middle.
I'm not going with Leonard. That sounds goofy. I'm like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Sorry.
I did a little bit of research and it's not about the Berlin Wall.
Right. Okay.
Right. So according to the band, the wall is actually the self-isolating barrier that we build for ourselves over the course of our lives. And the bricks are the people and events that turn us inward and away from other people. Which makes sense because the lyrics are all in all, you're just another brick in the wall.
Right.
So it's really nice that you said that because the emotion that I was feeling and what we just talked about and how good it would feel to tear down that wall. Imagine if you could tear down this self-isolating barrier, this friggin' wall that you put up to protect yourself due to past experience with people and things and just be free.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about it on other shows where we talked about facing fears and stuff that we are both individually and together on a journey of breaking those walls down, the internal walls.
Oh yeah. There's
And
been a lot of this over the last couple of years, and not
don't just
sad
climb over the wall.
tears.
Don't just climb over the wall, the internal walls of fears and barriers that you've put up in your life. Take hammers and chisels to it. But also, even more than that, this show is about breaking down that wall. There is a newbie and a doobie sitting across the table here, discussing cannabis from both sides, from two very different backgrounds. And we know there's a stigma out there, and our goal is to break that stigma, to break down that wall and the barrier, and just be able to have the conversation, because too many times the newbies and the doobies, they're separate. They don't understand the other side's perspective.
They don't even bother to try.
No.
That's where I'm like, please, just try.
So let's celebrate World Freedom Day once again here
Yeah.
by having a conversation where a newbie and a doobie can talk about cannabis and
maybe a conversation with yourself too.
right?
About some of these things that you need to tear down.
Maybe there's a wall between you. Maybe you're a newbie like me, and there's a wall between you and cannabis, but it's a wall that was built on horrible misinformation, disinformation, and maybe that wall needs to come down too. So, all right,
Break the walls.
break the walls.
All right, should we
Are
get into
we-
birthdays?
Yeah, let's do some quick birthdays quickly. and
All
then-
right. Well, there's not many today.
right,
So
what do
we
we
got
got?
Chris Jericho, wrestler,
Jericho,
right?
wrestler, yep.
Turning 51.
Yep.
We got Nick Lachey from that show and band 98 Degrees.
Oh, he wasn't in NSYNC?
No.
Okay,
No,
all right.
he was too hot.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
what I did there? 98 Degrees.
Ah, hot.
He was the hottest.
How
of
old
the
is
group.
he?
He is 48.
Didn't he marry Jessica Simpson?
No, he married Vanessa Hudgens.
Okay, all right.
Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. Sorry, Vanessa.
That's okay. One thing we do on this show is spout off information that may or may not be true.
And yes, he was with Jessica Simpson, and they had that show for a short
Yeah,
period
they had a
of
little bit of
time.
show, yeah.
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 I was just trying to
I never watched it.
dismiss her because it was a long time ago. Anyways, and Cisco.
Cisco.
I was
Okay.
waiting for you to say Cisco.
Cisco. I don't even know if we have time for this story. Let me.
Can I say just one thing?
Yeah.
Okay, if you do not know who Cisco is, I was like, wasn't that Drew Hill? No. Cisco is a member of Drew Hill, which is a band, and they're still going strong today. And he's 43. Happy birthday, Cisco.
Cisco is the story that
Yes.
I have. Okay,
Yep.
let me tell this story very
well,
quickly.
it's not. It's Choclair, but okay.
So we met with Choclair, not Choclair, and I told him this story, and MJ said, "Don't tell him the story," but I had to tell him the story, and I sat down and I said, when I heard that we were going to be sitting down and meeting Choclair, I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." I remember thong song, thong song, or don't ask me to sing the song.
Yeah.
And MJ's like, that wasn't Choclair. That was Cisco.
I said Cisco.
Cisco. And I was like,
Stay in your lane, Timmy.
So I'm like, I can't wait to tell that to Choclair. And she's like, do not tell that to Choclair. So we get on the stage. He comes out, sits down in the interview. And what do? The very first story I tell him is that I thought he wrote Thong Song. And you know what? He took it like a champ.
Yes. Well, what's funny is he actually had a story about what he was doing music-wise when Thong Song came out and how it was like overplayed at the bars. And yeah, it was fun, but... Yeah, not so much funny when Timmy was like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Choclair's a good dude, and I'm sure Cisco is too. I've never met him, but thong, song.
I used to love Drew Hill.
That's not even right.
I used to love Drew Hill.
Are we ready to get rolling?
We are. You know I'm always ready for that.
Roll it! What's been happening in the news?
Well, a rare smelly corpse flower, aka the penis plant, bloomed for the first time since 2018.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. It's a corpse smelling penis plant.
That hasn't bloomed in a while.
Some things literally just write themselves, folks.
Road trippers from North Carolina buy lottery tickets in 11 different states, winning them the $2 million Powerball prize in Virginia.
After tallying their fuel receipts from that trip, the couple celebrated their $32 profit at a local Denny's.
Two brothers and a friend from Idaho set a Guinness World Record by passing a beach ball back and forth 673 times in just 3 minutes.
And in other news, there is clearly nothing to do in Idaho.
An alligator in Mississippi approached a golfer, snatched his ball in his jaw, and headed for the pond.
The golfer, while finishing the back nine, was heard saying, "There goes my shot at a 69.
RCMP remind Nova Scotians to lock their doors after a pair enter the wrong home and clean it.
My door is literally open all the time. Sponges are underneath the sink." You know, I would literally allow myself to be tied up, pistol whipped, and left for dead if somebody would come in and clean my house. That is a home invasion I would welcome.
Take note. Police are hunting for a loose monkey spotted in Tokyo.
Bangkok responds to the news with, "Hold our beer."
Now to the serious news, shall we?
We shall.
Okay. So the High Tide Cannabis store is going to be transitioning to a discount club model.
Like a Costco kind of thing?
Well, sort of, I guess. There's going to be exclusive benefits, kind of like a loyalty plan.
Okay.
So a little bit about High Tide. They have over 93 locations in 4 provinces. They've been around for quite a while. They have e-commerce sites. They sell multitude of cannabis things. They were quoted saying, "Our focus is to convert consumers who are currently buying from the illicit market."
Okay. Well, it's obviously a market that is underserved. You're often talking about the high price of cannabis.
Yeah, so because of the rules and the regulations that are in place, it make it really difficult for producers as well as retailers to be able to offer, quality product at a cost-effective price at a discount price. So, kudos to High Tide for being able to try and implement some sort of system for people who are still continuing to purchase from the illicit market. I would like to point out that their key investors are Tilray and Aurora, which are bigger names in the cannabis industry. So I would like to, I hope, High Tide, that the strains and products offered to people at discounts are not just the big name licensed producers, but also some of the smaller ones as well.
So is this a good idea?
Absolutely. We need discounted cannabis in the industry. And it's also a great way for them to, I mean, who wants it? Cheap weed, cheap, come on.
I just pictured people, because I think Costco right away. I just pictured people like going in, like with those huge, like trolleys, like with big bags of weed. Of weed.
Technically you can't do that because you can only still purchase your 30 grams at a time.
Oh, still makes a funny picture.
See, rules and regulations. So it's great that companies are finding ways within the current rules and regulations to boost their sales, to help the customer. And I'm going to get a little bit more into the rules and regs and specifically into Ontario and why I think they're monopolizing a little bit too much. And if we just chill and changed a couple of those things, people like High Tide Cannabis and other retailers would be able to provide us consumers with a lower cost, better quality product than maybe say Buddy down the street.
Buddy down the street, you can't compete with this, man, unless you got a really big trolley. That it?
That's it.
That's what was in the news. And welcome back to another cinema review. Cinema, S-I-N, cinema review.
Today, we're going to find out just exactly how did Harold and Kumar escape Guantanamo Bay?
Well, we're not going to find out how they did it. I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone. But I am going to tell you my thoughts. Over the years that MJ and I have been together, she has been on a quest to show me the iconic stoner flicks. And some of them I had seen, some of them I had heard of, some of them I'm familiar with. Harold and Kumar, pop culture icons, I definitely heard of them. And recently we had sat down to watch one of them. Now I did them out of order, I completely understand that, but it was all based on the themes of our shows. But I will be reviewing all three over the next little while. But today I start with the second movie, Harold and Kumar, Escape Guantanamo Bay. I have a feeling that I'm about to hurt MJ's heart.
It's all right. Just don't talk bad about Kumar. Love Kumar.
Oh, man. Okay, well, let's get into this. But Kumar was the worst part of that movie. Anyways, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Drink my water.
My cinema review. Have you ever felt that an oral presentation, or any presentation for that matter, would be exponentially improved if you were simultaneously peeing? Either have I. However, the creative crew behind 2008's Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay apparently felt it would be at the very least helpful. At one point during my screening of this stoner cult classic, I literally turned to Mary Jane and said, "Has someone peed in every scene?"
I didn't even notice.
Lovers of this flick will be quick to fact check me on the actual pee count. But even if I've overstated the amount of urination, my point has already been made. Fact check this. Mentally exiting any film's storyline because characters relieving themselves was more noticeable than said storyline is never a good sign. I do not want to piss on this parade. I was so proud of that line. But I was relieved when I got to escape from this experience. Look, I'm not against lowbrow humor. In fact, there are many movies on my favorite list that utilize some of it masterfully. But when TNA, dick jokes, farts, and bodily fluids completely overshadow the points the writers were clearly trying to make, my assessment ranges from disappointing to failure. If this movie was a Seinfeldian film whose sole purpose was just to get laughs, then for some people, the creators might just have achieved their goal. But I don't believe for 1 second that they weren't trying to do that, or were trying to do that, depending. There was an obvious attempt to bring to light things like friendship, love, and even more blatantly, corrupt government, and the many deep issues surrounding race. I don't believe that comedy needs to have a message. It can absolutely be about nothing. However, the moment you decide to aim for social commentary / comedy, you can't miss this bad. I'm not saying you have to be an expert marksmanship like Carlin or Chappelle, and you need to hit every Cheerio in the bowl. But you need to at least keep the seat clean. Guantanamo Bay wasn't the worst movie ever. It wasn't even the raunchiest movie ever. And it might not even be the worst of the threequel, of which I will be watching the other two. But for an iconic franchise that clearly had a story to tell, this Noobie was left underwhelmed by everything except NPH, obviously. Harold and Kumar escape Guantanamo Bay gets 1 joint out of 5, because I don't believe in giving 0 joints out of 5 on a show about cannabis. There should always be 1 joint.
I second that.
P.S. I did do this cinema review bottomless.
That was good. Although I didn't hear anything negative about Kumar.
Kumar did the cannabis culture a huge disservice. Mm-hmm. And I can get that into maybe a future What Gets Timmy Going. It's time for another What Gets Me Going.
Well, what gets me going?
What gets her going? Take it away, MJ.
Okay.
I just made that up.
Okay. Timmy. See, it takes me a little bit longer.
High five.
High five. No.
Not today.
What gets me going? Got it. Don't confuse them. This is going to be confusing enough, okay? So just try and stay with me because it's a lot. It's a lot of information. This is based on an article that I read in Now Toronto. Just gave me a little bit more information as to what exactly is going on here in Ontario. So this is entitled, How Ontario is Killing the... Sorry, I had to double check that there. How Ontario is Killing the Cannabis Retail. I almost said retail cannabis. Cannabis retail. Okay. So in 2018, Canada legalized cannabis straight across the board. But they left it up to each province and territory to figure out who was going to distribute and sell to the general public. Okay. So in the beginning, it was the Ontario Cannabis Store, or the OCS. I just want to go off on a little side tangent. I'm going to try and keep it short. Mm-hmm. The Ontario Cannabis Store is a subsidiary of the LCBO. The logo for the OCS, you know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yes, I've heard this What Gets Me Going as well.
The logo is reported to have cost $650,000 $100,000 to create a circle with the letters OCS. That's it. Nothing fancy, no colors. They didn't want to appeal to any children.
No.
650. Anyways.
It's a free market.
Yeah, nothing free about that. Anyways, so the OCS did a male-only model. Not like...
I'm a male-only model.
I knew that was coming. So, they would... Basically, you had to go online, pick the product you wanted based on whatever THC in the photo on the screen, and then it was mailed to you. But you had to pay by credit card. You couldn't use any other form of payment. So if you didn't have a credit card, you were SOL. If you didn't have a mailing address, you were SOL. If your package got lost in the mail, same thing.
SOL.
Yes. No. LOM, lost in mail.
Oh, okay.
Or LOT, LIT, lost in transit. Lit. I love it. Anyways, another side tangent. There was a lot of issues. Basically, there was a lot of issues that came with the male model, and sounds funny now.
No issues with me, folks.
So they decided on a brick and mortar type situation where they were going to allow 25 retail locations in Ontario, only 25 in all of Ontario. And in order to become one of those lucky 25, you had to throw your name in a hat, and everybody did, and you only 25. It was a big lottery that they did. It was 25 lottery winners. If you were lucky enough, fortunate enough to get one of those lottery spots back then, you're probably doing really well right now because you were able to establish yourself in your community. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got a good foothold. You got a foothold. Is that the word? Okay. Where am I lost on my card here? So basically, what most people don't even know is that in order for those retail stores to sell us cannabis, they have to purchase their cannabis through the Ontario Cannabis Store still. So they're not allowed to go to the producer to get the cannabis like the Ontario Cannabis Store does. Mm-hmm. And you're like, but why? Like, why is it this way? Well, the Ontario Cannabis Store is trying to ensure that everybody pays the same price for the cannabis. So there's no favoritism if a producer actually owns stock in a retail location, which happens. You can only own a certain percentage, and there's rules around that as well. But it's to prevent them from undercutting somebody else, so that way they get a better deal, and then, you know, it's just to make it fair for everybody. So I get that. But there are ways around that. We could rewrite the regulations to make it so that way, you know, the producers are the ones selling to them and they have to sell to the same price across the board. So, like, I feel like it's one of those moments where I'm like, why is it this way? And in the selling process from the Ontario Cannabis Store to the retailer, they're still, they're still selling it at a wholesale price, but it's still higher than what the OCS is getting it from the producer. So if you get it, I was like, I got my little chart over here. Let me see. So initially it went from the producer to the Ontario Cannabis Store to the customer. Then they decided they weren't going to do that. They're going to do brick and mortar stores, right? Then they have the producer to the Ontario Cannabis Store. Now there's two options. Same before, like to the customer, or you can go over to the retailer, which then goes to the customer. But in this process, Timmy, $2 a gram, the OCS buys it for.
Yeah.
Then it goes to the retailer for $4 a gram, who sells it to us for $8 a gram. Doesn't matter if we buy it from the OCS or from the retailer, we're still paying the same price. But the OCS is still making money off every single sale that they sell to every retail store as well.
Right.
So everybody's making money.
Yeah.
Except for us, because we're spending it on a product. But that's normal.
That's normal.
That's normal. When you buy a product, you generally don't get money
right.
back.
And the doubling up, the more middlemen, obviously, price is gonna go up.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So not only is the Ontario Cannabis Store setting the price, But because they're also controlling the supply through the producers, they're also controlling what products the retail stores are actually able to obtain. So they're controlling the price and they're controlling the products. Mm-hmm. Sounds to me like they're controlling the entire market. Okay. Now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of, so I went online and I looked specifically at a strain from an LP, 3.5 grams in Nova Scotia, cost $35. 3.5 grams in Ontario cost $59. Huge difference. And it's not like we have a different currency. It's all Canadian money. It's all the same. There's no like, is that when you trade money? Exchange rate. Yes, there's no exchange rate. It's legit. It's straight up money. So just to give it in terms that maybe you can understand as a non-cannabis consumer, you like chocolate.
I love chocolate. Okay.
So you might like white chocolate. You might like milk chocolate. You might like dark chocolate. And dark chocolate comes in like a multitude of different percentages, right? So they're not denying us chocolate. They're giving us chocolate in milk, white, dark, but they're saying we're only going to give it to you from Nestle and Hershey's, for example. You only get these couple companies. And what happens is it's usually like a pay-to-play system. So if you want your product at the cannabis store, at the Ontario Cannabis Store website, it's generally the larger producers that are getting in, which is pushing out the smaller producers. Okay. Not really leaving us with a lot of variety. It's horrible. It's literally, it's frustrating. Okay, so, and I'll explain.
Glad I don't consume.
So there are over 1,000 cannabis stores in Ontario, with sometimes 5 of them being on the same block. There is a block in Ottawa specifically, 5 stores on the same block. And you're like, great, okay, MJ, yeah, there's a coffee shop on every corner. What's your deal? They're all selling the same products, legitimately the same products. I'm not talking about, oh, you can get a chocolate dip donut here. You know damn well a chocolate dip donut from Tim Hortons tastes different than one from Coffee Time or Country Style or the corner store that makes donuts because they're in a small town.
Right.
So I know I went another food analogy here, but I like to eat. That's probably a side effect of my cannabis. So it's frustrating when you go into a store and you can only get ABC products. Now, the OCS has also been accused. I'm not saying they've done it. I'm saying accused. Don't know, I'm not the OCS. But they have been accused of hoarding high demand product to keep for themselves online while retailers are sitting there with no stock and no ability to purchase. Let's talk about the stock that the OCS keeps. They keep it in one warehouse in Guelph, Ontario.
Guelph.
Good old Guelph.
Everything's
the
east
center,
of the
right?
center of the universe up here in Canada. Absolutely.
One damn warehouse.
It's like the Fort Knox.
I want to go there. I'm like, this would be like the amusement park for cannabis people, or it would be the worst place ever. Because I would not want to try and find a strain in there. For sure. I'm sure it's all like meticulously like set out and whatever. But the problem with having one warehouse for all of Ontario is a lot of times it takes months for the products to even reach the consumer. So when you're talking about consumers wanting a nice, fresh, clean product, they're getting dry dust because it's sitting on the shelf for months when it could be in the store. Now, let's talk about the store. Say you want to start your own retail location. I mean, who hasn't dreamt about being a legal drug dealer? Okay, maybe in that
I
side
dream
of the
about
world.
Survivor.
That's funny. It's a little different type of survival. So, if you would like to start open your own store, After you get yourself your criminal record check and your financial stability form, whatever that thing is, you need to get your retail operator license. And you're going to have to apply for that, $6,000. There's renewal fees every 2 years, but I'm not going to get into that because this is enough money that we're talking about. If you're approved, you get to do the retail store authorization. That costs $4,000. And just to put that in perspective, because I know these things actually cost money and they have to be in place. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to get a retail store authorization for alcohol versus cannabis, alcohol $1,500, cannabis $4,000. A little bit of a difference there. And when receiving product from the Ontario Cannabis Store, because that's the only place you can purchase from, their terms of payment are no credit cards, cash on delivery. Obviously, they don't care. It doesn't have to be like cash on delivery, but the money comes out of your bank account the day of delivery. I don't know if that's what Justin Trudeau was intending when he said he was going to legalize cannabis in Canada and leave it up to the provinces. Now, I specifically, living in Ontario, reading this article was like, yes, I need to discuss in depth what's happening in our province. Now, I'm curious as to what's happening in your province, in your state. Is it legal? Is it just medical? Is it recreational as well? I want you to reach out to me and tell me what the issues are in your area, because I think we need to talk about this. Canada specifically wanted to legalize cannabis for 2 reasons, they said. 1 was to reduce illegal activity. 2 was to reduce availability to the youth. Based on the current rules and regulations that they've put in place, it has not stopped the illicit market with packaging rules and where they can order from. People are finding a lack of supply, lack of variety, pricing is too much. There's something that needs to be done within the rules and regulations. And as advocates, as consumers, as non-consumers, I really feel like we need to do better and look at these regulations again. 3 years has gone by since legalization has became a thing in Canada. And I feel like it's long enough that we should be able to see what needs to be changed, what's working, what's not working, and how do we fix it? Are you with me?
I'd be silly to say no. I'm sitting literally right beside you.
Are you with us?
And that is what gets me going.
Mm-mm. Gets me going.
Cheers.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of On the Spot with the Noobie and the Doobie. We are very excited today to have our guest Choclair in the house. Talk to us about the process of moving mountains, Choclair.
Well, the process that kind of came up with it is that I kind of, for a while, I've kind of been hiding a little bit of part of I guess you could say a little bit of a dark side to me, which was dealing with depression and mental illness and everything like that. And I used to do and think about a lot of really hurtful things about myself. And really it was all about myself, self-worth, self-esteem, and stuff like that. I've been doing counseling and stuff like that for a while to go and figure out where the source was. I kind of sort of know where the source was, and I think we figured it out, but I won't put that out there for right now. But once I figured it out, it was one of those things where, it was a life-changing situation, because I was growing my beard out. I was looking like David Letterman of today.
It's a good look on Dave, though, admit it.
Yeah, but not on me. And I was just okay, and I'll just go and eat this and whatever. Just literally just I don't care about myself type thing. I don't care how I look. I don't care if I'm eating Kentucky all day or whatever, I don't care about my health. I don't care about anything. And, but through great friends, great family, and even through just like just literally strangers that might just even stop and be like, hey man, you okay? And then would sit and talk, even at those little 2 minutes, even 30 seconds, that just kind of clicks your brain off of where your brain is going. Because it's I don't, because I'm not a clinical science on this stuff, but it's like, it's something that goes on in your head. And it's either chemical, mechanical, but it's something that just gets you in a situation, and it just makes you go and think that you're lesser than, and that your worth is not valid. And so one day I remember, I don't know what it was. I don't know. I don't want to say rock bottom, because I don't know if I hit rock bottom, if I ever hit rock bottom. I just know I was in a very low place, and I sat there and I wrote this song. I don't know why and how I came up with the Made to Move Mountains title. I just figured it was a lot to move. I'm thinking it was a lot to move, and if you can move that, then you could do a lot more. That's less than what you have to do. That's a heavy lift. That's a heavy load, heavy cross to bear or whatever. And then I did it, and it started coming out. The song, it came on this Stomp the World, like back when they used to do all these dance movies, like The Drummer Line and Dance the Nation with the Girl, The Last Dance, and
Stomp the Yard.
Stomp the Yards, and all these other movies. It came out like around that time, but it only came out in Germany because they had this Stomp the Yard : World Revival or something like that. I forget what it's called. And it just took off. And the song just took off, and it came back over here. Literally officially, until I put it on streaming platforms, it never actually had a release date over here. It's only because we have streaming, I could just put it up. But it all just came back over here. And people over the time would just tell me, like, I really like the song. I really like the song. Like, that's a motivational song. I go to the gym, I listen to this song. I go over here, I listen to this. It's just a good motivational song. I was made to do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then just over time, it's just kind of, just kind of seeing where things were and how they are. And sometimes, when you go through stuff like this, it's like it's never really leaves you. You just kind of know how to handle it. And because you know how to talk to yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, admit whatever flaws you had, be able to say whether you messed up that day because of whatever you did that you weren't supposed to do. But, but you're admitting things to yourself and get yourself stronger. I was talking to people like Kathy Edwards that works with me with the Made to Move Mountains Outreach, and Jimmy Link that works with me with Made to Move Mountains Outreach. And they just started saying, you should really just get your story out there, because people don't know, they don't know, because you always put on a front. You always got to be a certain way. Like, it's like, you're never going to catch, unless you catch her going to 7-Eleven, which I'm sure she never does on her own, unless it's right beside her house, which I doubt because she's in the hills. You're never going to catch Beyonce in a pair of old Omaha University slacks or tracksuit or something like that. Like, she's always going to be dressed to the T. And then you feel like that's how you always have to be. And they encouraged me to go and start talking about stuff like that and what I've been going through and some of the challenges that I still go through, trying to go and just kind of get myself right. And once I started doing it more and more, it was just very heartwarming to see, like, the support that people would come up and be like, man, I'm so glad you're talking about this, because I feel this way too. I've been going through this too as well. And if you can talk about it, I feel like I could talk about it and everything. And I always try to end it. There's an Ice-T situation, the rapper Ice-T, all his gangster rap songs and everything that he used to put out, it always ended with whoever was the gangster in the song was either dead or in jail. So it always, whenever he was saying, I'm a coke dealer, or I'm this guy or that guy, or whatever, never ended good. And then where I try to go and switch up everything is that it always ends right. It's like, I'll get out of it. Like, I'll try and be that thing. And then those were the stuff that came with Made to Move Mountains. And then we decided, just because I was working with them, because they deal with a lodge that deals with mental illness, homelessness, and addictions and everything like that. And and I got to meet them, and I got to meet a lot of the people that stay at the lodge, and we became more acquaintances than friends, but we're nice to each other. We always say hi when we see each other. There's this one guy that just loves it when I bring my beer cans over. Like, hey, that's his thing. Mm-hmm. He just likes to go to the beer store and returns it. Maybe he likes to return it because he likes the money he gets back from it or anything like that. But that's his thing. He rides his bike, goes and returns, and I always drop off whatever beer cans or whatever bottles I have because that's his thing. And I get it. There's little things. I like to go to the studio. If I can go to the studio anytime, I want to go. That's my kind of like my little comfort zone. And so I got to get to know people and all those things. And we started up Made to Move Mountains Outreach. And within a few short months, we got this winter drive that we're doing now, where it started on October 16th. It's going up into November 30th. We got drop-off places in Toronto. I'll link you guys up with all of the places, exact locations where they are. But we got a few in Toronto. We got Leamington. We got out here in St. Thomas. We got London. Like, we're pretty much going up and down the corridor. And then just to imagine that Kathy, who had the lodge, until we did the Made to Move Mountains outreach, had no help. Their own money. People come up to come up to the back of her building, knowing she's the only one that helps in the city, and she makes them sandwich. If they need to go to, if they need $10 because they haven't eaten and she doesn't have it right now, or whatever, she gives them $10. But she knows them, so she knows they're not using it for a different purpose. They know that they're just hungry because these guys sleep in the car washes and turn on the water and use their money to go and make it hot so they can sleep when it's cold because the steam warms it up. That's the stuff that we're trying to go and try and fix and try and get proper help from that region of Ontario and other regions all over across. We're just starting small, but that's what our purpose with Made to Move Mountains is. And with the Made to Move Mountains outreach on the 29th, where we the event with at Meza will be like a great event, and we'll have everybody out there. We're going to raise money. We got a lot of giveaways and everything like that. That on the 30th, there was also kids' day, like hot dogs, hamburgers come because it's Halloween. They can dress up in their costumes, bouncy castles, this, that, and whatever. We have Stoner Chef coming around that he's going to be helping us to go and give out food. People can go and buy food. A lot of sponsors like Giant Tiger, Healing House, and a whole bunch of other people that are involved in it. And it's great to see how it really went and bigged itself up over the past few months, because at first we didn't know what and how. Like, I don't know. I've never ran a situation like that, and neither has anybody else. But the support that we're getting and the people that are really helping us out, we appreciate it. And 100%, like, there's no administration fees, there's no this, there's no that. Everything that goes in, literally, if you do like an e-transfer, it goes directly into the account to where the people that are helping and volunteers go and sit there, like we did on Thanksgiving. We were able to go and give out meals for Thanksgiving because of the donations that we get from people. And it's not just cash donations that we take. We need stuff like toothbrush, sleeping bags, socks, mittens, hats, personal
hygiene for women.
Yeah. For women, men, whatever, razors and all these other different things. Like, cash helps, products also help, everything helps. And that's one of our phrases that we like, is like, thank you for helping us help others, because that's exactly what this whole movement is. There's nobody getting rich off of it. There's only people just sitting there and being able to live off of what others and their generosity can go and help them give as they go through the very tough times in their lives. And it's not to say like we don't want to kind of count them out, because I could have been counted out. Yeah. And that would have been like Choclair, back in 1997 had this record, and now he's just gone.
Well, it's that time again.
Time for a smoke?
No, it is unfortunately time to say goodbye.
Oh, well, we'd like to thank you for joining us today.
We'd also ask that you would go and support us on Patreon at our Patreon page at the Noobie and the Doobie. And that way you can support us in helping us raise funds to continue to do what we're doing and to build what we're doing. As well, there you're going to be able to see full interviews You'll see clips of interviews on this show, but the full interviews, if you want to see those, they're on our Patreon page, as well as extra content as well. So check us out on Patreon at the Noobie and the Doobie.
Yep, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
And of course, you're going to want to be subscribing on YouTube and on your favorite podcaster. Push notifications, whatever you need to do to make sure you do not miss any of our episodes.
And then don't forget to share with your friends, whether they're a newbie or a doobie.
And with this, I close. New episodes every single week here on the Noobie and the Doobie. So until we see you next week, don't forget.
Stay lifted.
And keep on laughing.